The galaxy known as Arcturus shined like a field of endless diamonds. Stars scattered across the dark space, each one holding a mystery, a secret, or maybe a new beginning. Humanity had been traveling among the stars for generations, exploring, learning, and hoping to find others who shared the universe with them. Space was beautiful, but it could also feel lonely. The research vessel Endeavour floated quietly through the silent void. It was not a large ship, nor was it designed for battle. It was a ship meant for learning, peace, and discovery. A small crew of scientists, engineers, and explorers lived aboard. Each of them believed in something greater than themselves, the dream that humans could connect with other species peacefully. Among the crew was Alara Hayes, a calm and thoughtful communication specialist. She had gentle eyes and a warm voice, and she believed every new meeting between different beings could change the future for the better. She often spent time looking out the window at the stars, wondering what kind of lives existed beyond human worlds. One day, while the ship was passing by the Valora system, the sensors detected something unusual, a signal. It was faint, rhythmic, and intelligent. Alara and the ship's captain, Captain Rowan Carter, gathered the team in the main control room. The light from the large screen reflected across their faces as the signal repeated. "It is a pattern," Alara said softly. "It's not random. Someone is sending this." The room felt still. The crew had found hints of life before, but never something this clear. Never something so close. Captain Rowan nodded, thoughtful. He was a strong leader, not because of force, but because he listened. He believed every decision mattered. "We will investigate," he said. "Prepare for approach toward the source of the signal." The ship changed course, gliding toward a green planet covered in vast forests, shimmering oceans, and tall mountain ranges. It looked alive, peaceful, and untouched by war or destruction. The name discovered by their records called the planet Valora. As they drew closer, everyone gazed in silent awe. Valora looked like a place where nature and beauty were treasured and carefully protected. Dense forests shined with emerald colors, and the oceans glittered like blue crystal under the warm light of the nearby star. Alara whispered, "It's beautiful." They soon confirmed something even more remarkable. There was advanced civilization present. Cities blended seamlessly with nature. Architecture formed from smooth stone and living materials, as if the buildings themselves grew from the earth. Energy glowed softly around structures, flowing like gentle streams of light. Human hearts pounded in hopeful excitement. "We must be respectful," Captain Rowan said. "We do not know their customs. We must let them lead the first steps." The crew agreed. The ship held position at the edge of the planet's atmosphere. A friendly message was sent in calm tones and universal mathematical patterns. Humanity wanted to speak, not to command. For a while, there was no reply. Then, light began to gather on the surface of the planet. A beam of golden energy rose like a flower blooming. It widened and took shape, forming a communication gateway. A figure appeared within the golden light. The crew stared, amazed. The figure was tall, graceful, and shining with soft white markings across the skin. Their eyes were bright like starlight reflecting on water. This being was a Valorian. Their voice sounded like a calm wave. "Travelers," the Valorian spoke. "You arrive from distant stars. Why have you come?" Captain Rowan bowed his head respectfully. "We come to learn. We come in peace. We hope to understand your world." The Valorian studied him carefully as if weighing the truth of his words. "My name is Kale," the being finally said. "I am a scientist of Valora. We have observed your vessel. We know little of your kind. Your arrival is unexpected and our council will question your intentions. Still, I am willing to speak." The communication link grew stronger, and Kale stepped forward, his presence calm and thoughtful. Alara noticed something in his expression, a sense of curiosity, but also caution. Valorians clearly valued safety and careful judgment. Kale asked many questions about humanity, how they traveled, what values they held, why they searched the stars. Alara answered gently, explaining Earth's long history and how humans believed in cooperation, learning, and shared growth. She spoke of how humans helped each other through challenges, even when times were difficult. Kale listened closely. "You speak of helping," Kale said. "On Valora, we maintain balance. We live quietly, but we do not interfere with others easily. We fear that outside contact may bring disruption." Alara nodded, understanding. We respect that. We do not wish to change your way of life. We only hope for understanding. Kyle paused, then asked something unexpected. Why do humans help each other even when they receive nothing in return? The question surprised everyone. Alara thought carefully. Because gratitude connects us, she said. When someone helps us, we feel warmth inside. We want to share that feeling with others. It becomes a circle of kindness. One act becomes many. Kale's eyes widened slightly as though a new idea had entered his mind. Gratitude, he repeated softly. We do not speak of this often in our society. We do what is logical, what maintains balance, but we do not teach emotional connection as your people describe. Ilara smiled. Perhaps that is something we can exchange. Not technology, not resources, but understanding. The conversation was going well until a new signal. Interrupted, an alert sounded. On both sides, a disturbance near the edge of Valora's space. A large unknown fleet was passing, nearby, not attacking but observing. The Valorian tone changed. Their calm expression tightened. Kale's voice became cautious. There are travelers in our region who do not respect peace. We avoid them. They take what they wish. The human crew exchanged worried glances. Captain Rowan responded steadily. We do not wish harm upon you or ourselves. If danger nears, we will not run. We will help you however we can. Kale looked surprised, not frightened, but moved slightly. You would help us? Even after we have barely met? Captain Rowan answered, We help those who need help. That is the way of humanity. The Valorian scientist remained silent for a long moment. His eyes softened. Your presence is different from what we expected, he finally admitted. I will speak with the council, perhaps you may visit Valora. The communication faded gently into light. The crew stood in silence, realizing the weight of what had happened. They had made contact, true, real mutual contact with another advanced civilization. Not through force, not through demand, but through understanding. Ilara smiled warmly. This is only the beginning, she whispered. Days passed after the first contact between the humans of the Endeavor and the Valorian scientist Kale. The humans remained in orbit, patiently waiting for the Valorian Council's decision about whether they would be welcomed to the planet. The crew used the time to study Valora's landscapes, weather patterns, and communication frequencies. They wanted to understand the planet without disturbing it. On the planet below, Kale stood before the Council of Elders. The council chamber was shaped like a circle, with smooth white stone walls and large open windows that allowed gentle sunlight to stream in. Nature and architecture blended perfectly here, reflecting Valora's harmony with the environment. The elders sat quietly, their robes flowing like water. Their eyes were thoughtful, calm, and watchful. Kale spoke about his meeting with the humans. They did not speak of control or power, Kale said. They speak of connection. They speak of helping others. One elder, tall and patient, asked, Do you believe their words, Kale? Kale hesitated, not from doubt but from deep thought. I believe their intentions are sincere, he answered. They showed no aggression. Their minds are curious. And they spoke of gratitude, a concept our society has allowed to fade. I believe we can learn from them. Some elders nodded slowly, intrigued. Others remained uncertain. Another elder raised a concern. There are threats in this system. Our peace has lasted because we avoid attention. If we welcome these travelers, we may draw danger toward us. Kale lowered his head. Danger may already be near, he said, thinking of the mysterious fleet signal detected earlier. The council fell silent at this. Finally, the eldest among them, Elder Saurian, spoke. His voice was steady, full of years of experience. Fear alone cannot guide our future, he said. If we close our doors to the universe, we also close the chance to grow. Let us meet the humans. Carefully, respectfully. Let us learn who they truly are. The decision was made. The humans would be welcomed to Valora. On the Endeavor, Ilara received the message. She smiled brightly and called the crew together. They want us to visit the planet, she said. Excitement and nervousness filled the room. Captain Rowan spoke firmly, reminding them, We must be humble. We are guests. We observe. We respect, the crew agreed. A transport shuttle descended gently toward Valora. The view from the windows was breathtaking. Vast green forests swayed with gentle wind. Sparkling rivers wound their way like silver threads. Tall, crystal-like structures rose from the earth, glowing softly with natural light. When they landed, Kyle waited for them with a group of Valorians. Their clothing was elegant yet simple, woven from natural fibers that shimmered like the morning sky. Ilara stepped forward and bowed slightly in respect. Kale returned the gesture, his expression warm but composed. "Welcome to Valora," he said. The humans felt no hostility, only watchful curiosity. Kale led them through walkways lined with tall, flowering trees. Birds with long feathers flew gracefully overhead, singing pleasant melodies. Children played gently in open gardens, their laughter filling the air like soft bells. The humans were amazed. One human engineer, Aaron, whispered, "Everything here feels peaceful, like the whole planet is breathing slowly." Kyle nodded. "We have built our lives in balance with our world. It is our way." As they walked, a sudden sound broke the calm, a soft, rhythmic tone from one of Kale's devices. His expression became serious. He checked the reading carefully, Ilara noticed. "Is something wrong?" Kale breathed slowly. "The signal we detected earlier. It has returned. And it is stronger." Captain Rowan's eyes sharpened. "The unknown fleet?" Kale nodded. "They are called the Sarkari." The humans exchanged concerned looks. They had heard rumors in space travel records, stories of a vast roaming fleet that took resources from worlds less prepared. "They travel from system to system," Kyle explained. "Not out of curiosity, but to take what they want. We have avoided conflict by remaining unseen. Your arrival may have changed that." Captain Rowan placed a hand on his arm gently. "We did not come to bring danger. We will not leave you to face this alone." Kyle looked at him with a mix of surprise and something softer. "Respect. You would help us?" "Our people do not know battle. We create harmony, not defense." Captain Rowan nodded. "Then we will teach, and we will do so in a way that honors your values." Kale led the humans to a high observation platform. From there, the horizon stretched far into green lands and rivers, but in the sky, faint lights flickered, distant but approaching. "The Sarkari travel slowly," Kyle said, "because they scan worlds as they move. We have time to prepare, but not much." Ilara spoke calmly. "We will not panic. We will plan." Captain Rowan turned to his crew. "We need to understand Valora's strengths. Not weapons, but knowledge, environment, and resources. We can build protection that aligns with their way of life." Aaron studied the land below. "The forests are dense, the mountains high. If we blend defenses into the natural landscape, we can protect the planet without harming it." Kyle listened carefully, impressed. "You think differently than us," Kale said. "Where we see only peace, you see ways to preserve it." Ilara smiled gently. "Protecting peace does not mean destroying what is beautiful. It means shielding it with care." Kale took a moment to absorb this. Humans were not what he expected. They were not loud or forceful. They were thoughtful, steady, and kind. He led them to Valora's central knowledge hall, a place filled with glowing tablets and living memory crystals that recorded Valorian history and science. The air felt quiet and sacred. Kale offered access to the knowledge records. "If we are to work together, we must understand one another fully," he said. The humans bowed gratefully as they studied. Something remarkable happened. Valorians began to gather around, watching humans read, build plans, and share ideas with open hands, not secrecy. They spoke kindly to anyone who passed, answering questions, offering smiles. Their actions were small but genuine. Valorians were moved. They were not used to seeing strangers act with such warmth. One young Valorian child approached Ilara shyly, holding a small flower. "For you," the child said. Ilara knelt and accepted it gently. "Thank you," she said, placing her hand over her heart. Kyle watched this exchange with a thoughtful look. Something long forgotten stirred within him, a sense of gratitude. Not the logic of balance, but the emotion of connection. He finally spoke. "Your people, you do not only speak of gratitude. You live it." Ilara smiled softly. "We try." Just then the observation screens flickered. The Sarkari fleet was closer now, still distant but no longer uncertain. Their path was direct. The Valorian Council gathered again, and this time the humans were invited to stand beside Kale. Elder Saurian addressed them all. We stand at a moment of choice. If we hide, we may be found unprepared. If we stand, we must do so united. Humans of the Endeavor, will you guide us? Captain Rowan stepped forward. Yes, not as leaders, but as allies. We will help you protect your world and your way. Silence followed, and then slowly, carefully. The elders nodded. A new bond had formed, one built not on fear but on trust. The days that followed became some of the busiest Valora had seen in many years. While the Sarkari fleet continued its slow approach through space, humans and Valorians worked side by side across the forests, mountains, and river valleys. Though Valora was peaceful and calm by nature, it was now learning something new, how to protect peace without losing harmony. Kale walked alongside Captain Rowan and Alara through a wide clearing where large trees curved gently toward the sky. Valorian architects stood nearby, observing strange metallic cylinders the humans had brought down from the Endeavor. These are energy reflectors, Aaron explained to the Valorian builders. They can bend and redirect energy beams without releasing harmful force. They will help shield your forests from damage. The Valorians examined the devices closely, surprised. You mean protection without destroying? One architect asked. Yes, Aaron smiled. This device works with your environment, not against it. Kyle felt something shift in the minds of his people. For so long they had believed defense meant disturbance. Yet here were humans designing protection that left nature untouched. They worked with gentle hands, patience, and careful thought. Kale looked at Alara. You said your people believe in preserving what is precious. I am beginning to understand. Alara nodded softly. To defend something, you must first love it. Kyle had never heard it spoken this way. He had spent his whole life analyzing facts, measurements, and logic. Yet humans taught something different, that care was also a form of strength. The Valorian youth soon, Valorian young learners began gathering to watch humans work. Their bright eyes were full of curiosity. They listened as the humans explained teamwork, strategy, and creative thinking. One afternoon, Ilara taught a group of Valorian students how humans plan support networks. Every person has strengths, she said. Some are fast, some are strong, some are good at thinking. When we work together, we share these strengths so no one stands alone. A young Valorian named Leora raised her hand. But what if one person cannot give anything in return? Ilara smiled kindly. Then others help them anyway. Because one day, that person may help someone else. Gratitude grows like seeds in a garden. Kyle watched his students listening in silence, their expressions thoughtful. Valorian society valued balance, give and receive in equal measure. But humans taught something new. Sometimes one gives first, without expecting. It was a lesson the Valorians had not realized they needed. The storm on the fourth day of preparation, the weather changed suddenly. A high mountain storm formed faster than expected, sending winds rushing across the valley. Dark clouds gathered and lightning flickered across the sky. One of the Valorian villages rested near the riverbank, where the water had begun to rise from heavy rain. Kale and Alara rushed with a group of humans and Valorians to help. When they arrived, the river water had already begun to overflow, creeping toward the homes made from living wood and natural stone. Villagers hurried to protect their homes, but the water was rising too fast. Captain Rowan immediately took command, but gently, without shouting or panic. Ilara helped guide the younger villagers. Aaron, we need barriers. Anyone who is able, gather stones and branches. We work together. Valorians were not accustomed to sudden action. Their society was slow and steady. But as they watched humans move, quick, coordinated, and calm, something awakened in them. They began to follow. Side by side, they built walls of woven branches and heavy stones to slow the river. Humans dug channels to redirect the water safely back into the earth. Valorians used their natural energy tools to stabilize the ground. Leora, the young Valorian girl, led others her age to carry small bundles of soil and clay. Rain fell hard, soaking everyone. Mud covered their feet and clothes. Yet no one stopped. Kyle worked beside Alara, both their hands muddy, both breathing heavily. He looked around and saw something remarkable. No one was working for themselves. Everyone was working for each other, and slowly the rising water began to settle. The river returned to its path. The village remained safe. Villagers gathered around the humans, their eyes filled with awe, not because humans were strong, but because they acted with compassion and unity. One elder placed a hand on Captain Rowan's shoulder. "You saved our homes. You asked for nothing in return." Captain Rowan shook his head softly. "We helped because you needed help. That is enough." The elder's eyes glistened with emotion. Cale felt something warm inside his chest, a feeling he could not fully explain. Gratitude, yes, but something deeper too. The understanding that connection was not measured. It was felt. Teaching strategy later that evening, Valorians gathered to learn defensive planning techniques. Humans sat among them, not as commanders but as guides. Cale stood beside a large map of Valora displayed in glowing light. "Humans think in layers," he explained to his people. "They do not rely on one solution. They build many supports. If one fails, another stands." Captain Rowan added gently, "We do not trust only strength. We trust preparation, teamwork, and adaptability." Leora raised her hand. "So when we protect something, we protect it together?" Alara smiled. "Yes. Together is always stronger than alone." The Valorians nodded slowly, understanding growing inside them. Cale looked around the room and said, "We have always believed peace meant standing still. But peace must sometimes be protected through unity, and unity begins with gratitude for one another." His voice carried not just logic, but emotion. The Valorians listened deeply. Something in their society was changing. A new bond as night fell. Humans and Valorians gathered around soft crystal lamps that glowed with gentle light. They shared food, stories, and music. Humans told tales of Earth's forests, oceans, and cities. Valorians spoke of their traditions, art, and harmony with nature. There was laughter. There was curiosity. There was warmth. Leora braided flowers into Alara's hair. Kyle played a gentle wind harp, its notes soft as falling leaves. Aaron taught Valorian children how to build small models of the reflectors. Captain Rowan spoke quietly with Elder Saurian, their conversation full of mutual respect. In that moment, two worlds did not feel different. They felt connected. The signal grew stronger, but peace did not erase reality. As the evening came to an end, the sky pulsed with a deep red light, a warning. The Sarkari fleet had crossed into the outer edge of Valora's system. Cale looked to Captain Rowan. "It is time," Cale said, not with fear but with resolve. Captain Rowan nodded slowly. "Yes, but we will face this together." Ilara placed her hand on Cale's arm, steady and encouraging. "We are not alone." Cale looked at her hand, then into her eyes. He felt something he had only just begun to understand. Humanity did not give strength through power. Humanity gave strength through connection, and Cale knew Valora was no longer the same planet it had been before humans arrived. Not because humans changed Valora, but because humans helped Valora remember something it had forgotten. Gratitude is not weakness. Gratitude is a force that can move hearts, mountains, and soon worlds. The sky above Valora slowly darkened, not from clouds or nightfall, but from something far away and approaching with steady purpose. The Sarkari fleet glided through space like silent, moving shadows. Their ships were large and heavy, built for taking resources and forcing others to surrender. They did not come to learn. They did not come to share. They came only to take. Yet on Valora, something was different now. Valorians no longer waited in uncertainty. They no longer stood apart from one another. They no longer believed peace meant silence. They had learned on from the humans that peace could be protected with unity, planning, and care. Cale stood on a ridge overlooking the valley where humans and Valorians worked together. Below him, the forest shimmered with natural light, reflecting the energy barriers they had built. The shields blended into the environment, looking like gentle waves of wind and color. Captain Rowan stepped beside Cale. His expression was calm, but his eyes were focused. "They will arrive soon," Rowan said quietly. Cale nodded. "Yes, but this time, we will not face them alone." Alara joined them, carrying a communication device. Her hair was tied back simply and her eyes were steady. "Defense teams are in position," she said. "The students you trained are ready. The reflectors are activated, and the villagers are safely gathered in protected shelters." Cale felt a mixture of pride and gratitude. Valora had not been prepared for conflict, yet now they stood together with new understanding. "We did not change who we are," Kyle said softly. "We simply learned how to stand together." Rowan smiled gently. And that is enough. The Sarkari arrival. The sky shimmered with streaks of silver light as the Sarkari ships entered Valora's upper atmosphere. They moved slowly, not in haste but with confidence, as if they believed no one would resist them. The Valorian council gathered in the main plaza, standing tall and calm. They did not show fear. They stood together side by side with the humans. A communication signal appeared on the viewing screens. A figure from the Sarkari fleet spoke, their voice even and uninterested. "We detect valuable energy on your world. We will take what we require. Do not resist." There was no greeting, no discussion, only a statement of intention. Elder Saurian stepped forward and replied with dignity, "This world is not yours to take. We live in peace here. We ask that you leave peacefully." The Sarkari voice responded, "Peace is irrelevant. We take what is needed." Captain Rowan spoke next, his voice steady. "You will find that Valora is not unprepared. Leave now, and no harm will come to anyone." There was a long silence. Then the Sarkari ships changed direction, descending toward the energy fields. Kyle looked at Rowan. "It begins." Rowan nodded. "We stay calm. We work together. Unity in action." The humans and Valorians moved as one. There was no shouting, no chaos. Every person knew their role. The reflectors hidden in the forests activated, appearing only as soft ripples of light. The first Sarkari energy beams met the reflectors and bent harmlessly into the ground, scattering softly like falling sparks. Valorian youth who once spent days in quiet study now operated coordination panels, directing shield flows. Human engineers guided them with patience. "This one adjusts the angle. That one balances energy," Aaron explained calmly. The young Valorians followed carefully, their hands steady. On the front lines, Ilara stood with a group of Valorians who were guiding natural pathways in the forest. They did not confront the Sarkari ships directly. Instead, they used the environment to their advantage. The mountains around Valora were shaped in curves and ridges, and humans had mapped paths of safe movement. The Valorians used these natural corridors to direct protective energy outward, reinforcing the shield barriers where they were most needed. Kyle and Rowan stood together at the central command platform. The Sarkari fleet continued sending controlled energy pulses, testing Valora's defenses. Rowan studied the pattern. "They are not rushing. They are analyzing. They want to find a weak point." Kyle nodded. "Then we must show them that strength is not found in force but in unity." A moment of danger. Suddenly, one of the shield nodes flickered weakly. A section of the forest barrier dimmed. A young Valorian operator gasped softly. "We are losing energy on the western ridge." Before panic could spread, Ilara placed a reassuring hand on the operator's shoulder. "It is all right. We adjust, just as we practiced." Human engineers and Valorian energy weavers worked quickly, redirecting power through auxiliary channels. Leora, the young Valorian girl from before, helped carry energy conduits from storage, not hesitating even for a moment. She looked up at Ilara and said, "We help each other." "That is what you taught," Ilara smiled warmly. "Yes, together." The shield brightened once more, steady and glowing like starlight among the trees. Kyle's realization, as Kyle watched humans and Valorians working with trust and confidence, something deep and emotional formed within him. He understood now that strength was not found in silence. Strength was found in connection. Valora had always believed balance meant stillness, but humans taught that balance also came from movement, from giving and receiving, teaching and learning, helping and being helped. Kyle turned to Rowan and spoke with quiet conviction. "Your people did not come to change us. You came to remind us who we could be." Rowan shook his head gently. "We only helped you see what was already there." Kyle felt a calm, warm understanding in his heart. This was not a bond of requirement. It was a bond of gratitude. The turning point, the Sarkari fleet unable to break through, paused. Their scanners detected no destruction, no panic, no surrender. The defenses were strong. But more importantly, the spirit of the planet was united. For the first time, the Sarkari reconsidered. They were used to finding worlds divided, unprepared, or frightened. But here they found a world protected not by weapons but by cooperation. A final communication came through. You resist without aggression. You protect without destruction. This is unusual, Elder Saurian replied calmly. We protect what we love. The Sarkari voice was quiet for a long moment. Then it spoke. We will leave. We have nothing to take here. The ship slowly turned and drifted back into the starry distance. No cheers rose across Valora. No celebrations. Only quiet relief and deep peaceful pride. But in that silence, something powerful happened. Valorians looked at humans not as visitors, but as friends. After the threat, the sky returned to its clear, peaceful blue. Villagers came out of shelters. Children ran into open fields. Nature continued its calm song. Kale stood with Alara, Rowan, Auron, and the others near the valley where it all began. We were not saved by strength, Kale said softly. We were saved by understanding, trust, and gratitude. Alara smiled gently. Those are the roots of peace. Kale turned toward his planet, feeling a sense of transformation, quiet and profound. Valora will remember this day, he said. Not as a day of conflict, but as the day we stood together. Captain Rowan nodded. And tomorrow begins a new journey. Kale looked at the humans. Yes, together. The sunlight of Valora was warm and calm on the morning after the great conflict. The sky above the green valleys was clear and peaceful, filled with the soft glow of 2 rising moons. For the first time in many weeks, the citizens of Valora walked without fear. The fields were quiet and the air held a soft feeling of relief. The humans stood among their Valorian friends, not as visitors but as companions who had walked through hardship and came out stronger. Alara stood near a cliff edge, overlooking the valley below. The villages were slowly rebuilding, and the new defensive structures humans had helped create were now part of the landscape. To her side stood Kale, the Valorian who had learned from the humans and had grown into a respected leader among his people. We survived, Kale said softly. His voice carried both amazement and a deep gratitude. Alara nodded gently. We survived because we stood together. Not because we are strong alone, but because we found strength in each other. Kale looked over the valley again. He remembered the moment when the Sarkari fleet had finally turned and disappeared into the deep black sky. The relief had been overwhelming. Valora had been on the edge of losing everything, but humans had refused to abandon them. They had stayed, worked, fought, and protected. The memory of their unity had become something unforgettable. The Council of Elders gathered later that day. The humans were invited to the meeting, not as guests but as equal partners. The hall was filled with soft music and calm lights. Valorians from different regions attended. Many had once doubted humans, but now they looked at them with respect and appreciation. The eldest Valorian, Elder Varen, stood at the center of the hall and spoke in a gentle voice. Today is not only a day of peace, it is a day of learning. We learned that courage can be gentle and strength can be shared. Humans have shown us what it means to stand for others. For this, we thank you. The hall became filled with respectful silence. Human crew members bowed their heads. None of them had expected such kindness or recognition. They only did what felt right. They helped because it was who they were. Kyle stepped forward and addressed the assembly. Humans did not only help us in battle, they helped us understand the meaning of unity. They taught us that gratitude is not just saying thank you. Gratitude is something that grows into actions, decisions, and bonds. We have become better because of what they shared. A quiet wave of agreement moved through the Valorian citizens. After the meeting, new plans began to form. Valora and Earth would establish a shared program of education and exploration. Humans would send teachers and Valorians would send scholars and artists. Technology would be exchanged, but more importantly, understanding would be shared. This was not a partnership made from fear. It was built from respect. Ilara and Kyle were appointed as the first ambassadors of unity. They would serve as symbols of the new friendship between the two worlds. Their task was not easy. They would travel to nearby planets and speak of cooperation instead of conflict. They would show how different civilizations could learn and grow together. Preparations for their journey began. A new starship was built on Valora with combined designs. Human engineering and Valorian energy technology blended into one elegant vessel. Its surface was smooth and reflective, designed to harmonize with the natural light of the planets it would visit. The ship was named Harmonia, a symbol of balance and peace. On the day of their departure, many citizens gathered around the launch platform. Children waved colorful ribbons. Elders whispered blessings. Human engineers checked final controls. Valorian energy crafters guided gentle currents through the ship's core. Kyle looked around at the people and felt a sense of responsibility. He had grown much since the first meeting with humans. He no longer saw himself as separate from them. Their ways had touched his heart, and his people had changed because of what they learned. Alara stepped beside him. "We start a new journey today," she said. "Yes," Kale replied softly, "one that will show others that unity can reach beyond worlds." The ship lifted gracefully into the sky. The engines did not roar harshly. They hummed like a soft song. As Valora grew smaller beneath them, both ambassadors felt the weight of history behind them. Their first destination was a nearby planet called Lyrona, known for its rich culture and peaceful traditions. The Lyronans welcomed them with curiosity. Alara shared how humans and Valorians had stood together. Kale explained how shared gratitude transformed their society. The Lyronans listened carefully and welcomed the teachings warmly. They saw no threat, only sincerity. From there, Harmonia traveled to several other worlds. Some worlds were cautious, others excited. But everywhere they went, the ambassadors spread a message of cooperation. And with each journey, stories of humans and Valorians grew more well-known. The galaxy began to speak of Earth not as a world of conquest or dominance, but as a place that valued relationships. Years passed, and the bond between humans and Valorians only grew stronger. Shared art, shared songs, shared architecture, and shared celebrations became normal across both societies. Children of both worlds would learn of each other's histories and languages, as if they had always been connected. Kale and Alara sometimes returned to Valora, where the countryside had become a place of festivals and peace. The defense systems still stood, but they felt like guardians rather than reminders of fear. Villages were filled with life, and new generations grew up knowing that friendship between worlds was not only possible, it was beautiful. One evening, Kale and Alara stood again near the same cliff where they once looked over the valley after the conflict. The wind was soft, carrying the smell of flowers. The stars shone bright, spreading across the sky like a map waiting to be explored. "Do you think other worlds will choose peace too?" Alara asked. Kale smiled gently. "I believe so. When people see kindness, they remember it. When they receive help, they understand gratitude. And when they feel gratitude, they share it. This is how mountains are moved. This is how worlds change." Alara looked up at the stars. "Then our journey will continue." "Yes," Kale replied. "And we will move mountains together." The sky above them sparkled with endless possibilities, and their story continued, not as a legend but as a living promise that those who help humanity will always find humanity's gratitude powerful enough to shape worlds.